All right, so we're here with Mr. Clutch, Bobby Drew, one of our first state champs, was a part of our first team state championship team in 2013. One of my all-time favorite just people, never give up attitude, and just a pleasure to know him. So Bobby, why don't you, or Robert, you probably go by Robert now, huh?
One of those, man. Robert, Bob, Bobby.
I know that people who knew me in high school still call me Ricky, so it's kind of how it goes. But Bobby, what have you been up to since your Saugatuck High School days?
Just a lot of things, man. Started with right out of college, right out of high school, going to college and getting through that, and then eventually just starting a family, working a lot, and currently just working a lot now, and just working with kids a lot now. So it's pretty much what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah.
So after high school, you started at where did you start? What college did you start with?
I was going to start with. So the goal was to play football in college at first. When I was in high school, I had no plans on going to college to play, do anything with track or anything like that. So the goal was to go to. I committed to Wayne State my senior year at Saugatuck, and I was planning on going there for football. And then a lot of things happened with track, as you know, and that kind of changed my path away. And yeah, I stuck with that. So.
So after Wayne State, I can still remember the phone call when you were going to go to Siena Heights to play football and do track. And
yeah,
I think there were some people you felt were going to be upset with you about that. And
yeah,
a nice conversation. And you ended up doing Siena Heights, which I think was a good fit for you. And how did your time go there? How long did you play football? And
so what happened was summary of all of it. I committed to Wayne State for football completely, and then I want to say a week before training camp, I was like, I want to also do track, because my senior year at Saugatuck, I fell in love with the sport more than I even ever knew I cared about it. I think winning the state championship and just I think a lot of things I learned that senior year. I felt like a little bit I was kind of coaching a little bit, and I was also kind of being an athlete, and then I was winning a lot at the sport, and I was just like, man, this is completely different from my experience with sports at a previous school. So it just kind of turned me into a track. Like, I just wanted to do track pretty much. And they were like, that I remember one thing that Wayne State was saying to me. They were like, Bobby, like, we have a women's Olympian track coach, and there's only women's track, but she can train you in track. I was like, that doesn't sound like something I want to actually compete. And in Siena, Coach Bauer at Siena Heights, actually, he called me. He was like, it was just a random meet that I think it was a regional meet. Some guy met me at, and he was like, hey, I know a coach that would love you. And I was like, oh. All right, let me talk. He was like, I'll give your information to him. And he called me, and he was like, hey, come in for just a visit. And I went out there, and I fell in love with the small town school just because I became used to it, going to Saugatuck and stuff like that, as opposed to Howland. And then went to that same day I committed to. I was like, I want to play here. I want to do track, and I want to do football. And called Wayne State, and it was just like it was a rough call, because I got calls. I think I was getting calls while I was visiting Siena Heights. I was getting calls from my grandma, my uncle, Wayne State, coaches and teachers and people that like met me, and I was just there like, what are you doing? And I was like, visiting at Siena. Like, you can't do that. And I was like, I'm already doing it. Sorry. I want to play track. So yeah.
Well, I know that your time at Siena, you had a little rough time academically, right, for a bit, and you ended up having to leave for a while, and then do some work, and then some community college. And I think the thing, like, it's actually quite classic Bobby Drew in my
Mhm.
opinion. You're Mr. Clutch. You all
Mhm.
look like you're out of it, and then you pull something out right at the end, and that wasn't exactly right at the end, but when you left, I know I thought, oh man, that's too bad.
Mhm.
I don't know if he's gonna have the support system or just the confidence in himself to make it. And I know
Right.
when you did, there were a lot of tears around here. And
Yeah.
boy, that you battled back, and then you had a great free. I mean, you were an All-American a couple times, right?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of academic. I got close to all the way. I was 10th place, so ninth place was All American, and I got really close, but I got academic All American, which is actually, the great thing was a big thing. My first semester going there to Siena Heights, I was double sporting, double majoring, and I did a lot of, I went to college thinking like I can just goof around and do college stuff and double sport and double major, and I'll do fine because I'm an athlete. And that's kind of the mindset you get into when you go to college and you're an athlete. You're like, oh, I'll be fine. You know what I mean? And yeah, I learned really quick that double sporting, double majoring, and trying to do extracurriculars like that that doesn't pan out really that great. So I ended up, I think, with a 0.5 GPA that semester and academically suspended. And then when I had a moment when I was back home, and I was just like, I remember going to like a high school game, I think a football game, I think it was Saugatuck, and just feeling like I was like, like back home and nothing. Yeah, like I had that thought process like, this is I don't want to do this forever. Just like working factory, things like that. And I was like, this isn't what I want to do. You know what I mean? I had high expectations for myself, and I think a lot of people did. And that kind of forced me to want to go back and finish. So started doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, when you did it, it was
Mhm.
emotional around here. I mean, you know that there's a number of us that really took a vested interest in you, and so we're super proud of you for that. And then, you ended up graduating with, you went in for nursing, right? And then you ended up changing. Is that correct?
I went to Siena originally for teaching, actually, and then I went through a lot of different moments, but I ended up I went for teaching, and then when I came back, they were like, you have to take a semester uh, and figure out what you want to do. So I went to Siena the first semester, struggled, got academically suspended, and then I went to community college. Like I want to say a year later, pretty much. And when I was at the community college, I kind of learned how to be a college student. I didn't know how to be a college student, so I studied by myself, and I wrote papers, and read a lot, and just learned how I can be successful at college, because a lot of kids that go there and they don't really, high school and college are two big different boats. So I taught myself how to be a college student pretty much. And I think I left there. I went from a 0.5 my first fall semester to a 3.7. I think I was dean's list at the community college. And then I went back to Siena, and I remember my first semester I got a 3.8, something like that, dean's list and everything like that. And my GPA jumped from the 0.5 to like a 3.0. And they were like, what the heck happened? I was like, I just, I knew how to do it. I just was never applying myself. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a really cool switch. Yeah.
Which then sort of gets me to like you in high school. I can still remember in this very room talking to you about throwing, because I knew you'd done it a little at Holland, and we went over athletic.net, and I showed you like, you could be all skater, and you're like, all right, I guess I'll give that a shot. And I remember the very first day you went out there and threw the shot 49 feet
Yeah.
practice, and I said, well, you just broke our school record by 4 feet. I think this is going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
we had some bumps. I can remember, like not letting you compete at a meet because you didn't come to school. And I mean, you had a lot more on your plate than I think a lot of people realized. And, you were a lot of fun to work with, but I knew you had some challenges, and the way you fought and overcame was the same way you were on on the, in the circle.
Hmm.
I,
Yeah.
I can guess what your favorite moment was from high school track, but
Shaving
I'm,
your head.
yeah, which was your brainchild and
That's
something
way.
we've been lucky enough to do 7 other times.
That's awesome.
You
Yeah.
started that, and my wife still thinks it's funny. We were talking last night about, like, what were you thinking before that last throw when you threw your 52 feet to win at
Yeah.
state, and you said, I just kept thinking about Bauer's big old bald head, and
Yeah. Shaving, man. That's what we wanted to do.
that was
That was, I
that was
think
a
every
fabulous moment.
Yeah, I think we all wanted to do that. I remember talking to everybody about it. And I think a big thing I remember was I can't remember who drew it, that picture. Someone drew a picture on a shirt or something like that. And I remember I was like, man, I want to take a picture with this shirt on the podium, like, standing in first place and stuff like that. And that it was really cool. It was like a realistic arm with a shot put and stuff like that. And little things like that, man, from that meet. And I remember that whole season just wanting, even every meet wanting to do better than I did last. And I remember doing that and breaking my like little records that I set for myself. And track just showing me that I had more options. I think growing up, people looked at me and their first thought process was like, hey, you're a football guy. You're going to play football. You're going to do good at football. And I was like, I can do more than football. Like in my head, I've always had that thought process. And then when I started track, I got really competitive. Even before Saugatuck, when I was in Holland, I got really competitive. And then when I got to Saugatuck and I, seen what my competition was in regards to like other kids and stuff like that in the conference, I was just like, I can beat a lot of these guys. And so I got that competitiveness in my head. And then I didn't even think about college at that point. And then when I started talking to people about college, at the state meet, you know what I mean? That's when I was like, maybe I need to make that decision. So yeah.
Well, and I went back and I looked, and I didn't even realize it at the time, but you were one of the top 3 seniors in shot put your senior year. You should have been at the Midwest meet, throwing for Team Michigan, but nobody ever contacted us. And that was still early in my days in NICA, so I didn't really know enough to push. But I also think of that, in disc where you were the runner up.
Mm-hmm.
You were struggling in your first 3 throws. You say, I'm slipping. And we went and bought some Coke. You remember that?
Oh yeah, we bought soda
All over your shoes so you wouldn't slip so much. I don't even know if that's legal. Somebody else will tell us.
I just remember that ring it was really, even the guy I was throwing against was like, this is crazy. Like, it was just dusty. So it's funny, those guys that I competed against, I remember one of them, the guy who beat me in Discus, I actually threw with in college. He went to Siena Heights with me that same next year. And then the guy I beat in shot put for the state championship, I seen him at a track meet years later, and he was like, Bobby Drew. And I was like, what's up, dude? And he was like, I know you. I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, I threw against you. And I was like, what? He was like, remember the state meet out? I think their color was purple or something like that. He was like, dude, you beat me the last throw. Because I was crying. I was like, I'm sorry, man. I was good. I don't know. Clutch. No. Yeah.
Whereas you let it go, knowing that you hooked it up, you could just see it, that it was done.
Yeah, man.
Wait, because you were like 5th after the first 3 throws. So we had to wait 3 more throws, and it was hard not cheering like loud when they didn't throw further than you. But then that last guy, when he wasn't 52 feet and we were just losing our minds.
I
And then we
know.
walked down to the track and watched the 4x8 win. And at that point, we had scored more points than any Saugatuck team had ever scored at state finals. And we still had the afternoon to go. And it kept piling on. And that moment, that meet is ingrained in my head. When I close my eyes, it is like I am there. So like, you and the guys from that time, you do mean a lot to me, not just because you won, but it was just like, it was special.
Yeah, no, it was really good for us. I think it was cool to see that being one of the first things, and it felt good to do that for you too. Because I remember we got back to the school, you were like, man, to think you came here to play football. real life, everyone's all crying and stuff like that, man. I was like, no, dude, it's crazy. So it was a real emotional moment for me, and it definitely it pushed me a lot of ways. It taught me how to, be an athlete, be a student athlete, because yeah, like you said, there were days where I didn't want to practice or want to go to school or stuff like that, and you were like, well, you don't get to compete then, and I was like, oh, well, I don't want to not do that now. And yeah, so I think I got my way a lot when I was in Holland. I kind of got babied a little bit just because I was a big dude, and they're like, oh, he's gonna be something for us. So I grew up a lot, I think, playing for you. So thank you for that. And it taught me a lot of things. So appreciate it.
Taught me a lot. I'll tell you what, I just remember, knowing your history. I'm a big believer in what like Greg used to say, and he was your teacher.
Mm-hmm.
You can't treat everybody exactly the same. Fair isn't always equal. It's giving people what they need to succeed. And so, there are times people probably thought I should have been harder on you.
Mm-hmm.
I know there were times when people thought I was too hard on you. So, it's like I could never win with everybody, but you always were fair and always understood. And you were a pleasure to coach. And I'm glad to get caught up. And I haven't seen you in a number of years, but we've talked a bit through text, and I'm really proud of you that you're working with kids, giving back, because
Yeah.
you're a special dude. You have a way. People gravitate to you, and you did some great work with those kids. And if you want to tell everybody what it is you're doing now, I know you're working 2 jobs, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, still workhorse, man.
Trying to. No, I work currently. Doing a lot actually right now. I'm working with I was working juvenile detention. I stopped doing that. I started working ABA therapy, which is working with kids who have autism or any other behavioral issues, really. And it's just a lot of goal and treatment ran things, and we're doing, working on them speaking or them reducing a certain behavior, whether it's yelling or pushing or anything like that. Just a lot of behavioral training for the most part. And I'm also doing security on the weekends. And currently, which I didn't even tell you about yet, I'm currently waiting to hear back from I had an interview with Oceana County. I don't know what it's called. It's a hard name to pronounce. But anyway, juvenile probation. So that's kind of my dream job. And I'm pretty excited to hear back from that. Interviewing really well. So hopefully that pans out. So yeah.
Well, I hope the best for you. And if there's anything you ever need, reach out. We all love you here, and we're big fans. Keep cheering for you.
Sure, man. Love you guys all too. Trust me. So
all right, man. Have a good one. I appreciate it, and take care.
All right, boss. Me too.